Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker, and today I'm just doing a little quick solo episode. Team's on vacation for the holidays, and I just wanted to record a quick message, something I've been thinking about as we move into this next year. Some thoughts I've been having, and hopefully this helps you kind of establish the mindset that you need for success in this next year. So I'm going to start off by telling a little story. It was 2002. I was 25 years old, and I had walked out of a Kinko's copy center carrying a box of paper that I had no idea would change my life forever. So in the next few moments here, I'm going to tell you how a simple creative project altered my life's trajectory, how that project relates to an 8th century Japanese Shinto purification practice, and how you should never let a year slip past you without accomplishing something of worth. Now, in order to get to all of that, we need to rewind back to 1992, so 10 years prior to 2002. And we're going way back in time here. In 1992, I was in junior high. And I had an idea in my sketchbook that sparked something in me. I created a character called Missile Mouse that was everything I loved about, all the favorite things that I was into, my childhood heroes, everything rolled into one. It was like part Rocketeer. I don't know if you remember that Disney movie, The Rocketeer. It was part Rescue Rangers. It had a dash of Spaceman Spiff, so the side character from Calvin and Hobbes, where he'd imagine himself as a space character. And then you mold those characters together and you drop them into a Star Wars-like universe, and you get Missile Mouse. And every year growing up, I'd draw him. I'd draw him in poses. I'd draw him adventuring. I'd draw him just looking cool, but I never actually put him into a story. Now that changed in my early 20s. I decided it was time to dust off Missile Mouse and finally draw a full comic book of him. A real story though, like not just sketches, something where we see his character, we see what he's like. And though I wanted to do that, I was not confident in my writing skills. So I pitched the idea to a good friend of mine who was a writer. He's working on, short films, trying to get into the film industry. And told him my idea. He came back with a script, and now I had like a story. And once I had that, I just started working on the comic. Nights, weekends, I just poured everything I had into it. This was definitely a side project. I had a day job that I had to do, but I wanted to make this comic as best as I could, right? What I didn't realize was that this project would become an exercise in making something impossible. I didn't realize just how hard comics were. Every single page stretched me. Every single page pushed my character drawing, pushed my environment design drawing, pushed my understanding of composition, pushed how I told a story or how you tell a story in sequential panels, right? It pushed everything further than they'd ever been pushed before. And by the time I finished, I was exhausted, but I was also exhilarated. I remember laying all 24 pages out on the floor, and I was just staring at them like, oh my gosh, I made this. I'd actually done it. I'd made a comic. But my challenge didn't end there. I still had to figure out how to turn those pages into a book. Okay, it's one thing to just have artwork sitting on your desk. It's another thing to have like a finished printed copy in your hands or something you can hand out to other people. And so that meant I had to design a cover. I had to figure out a back cover. I had to figure out, what's on the interior of those two covers. I had to make sure the artwork lined up with the page count that you have to do for doing, a full printed book. In addition to all those things, it just forced me and it pushed me in like the graphic design side of my brain that I wasn't expecting as well. I had to come up with like a logo for the book, right? Eventually I got it done. 50 copies, printed at Kinko's, stapled. These are just on cheap paper. We called them ash cans back then. I don't know what they're called now, but I had them, and San Diego Comic-Con was like coming in a month, I think, or maybe I had it like ready right as Comic-Con was ready. Anyways, I had these books. I went to Comic-Con. One of my favorite creators was Jeff Smith, and I knew he was going to be at the Comic-Con. Jeff Smith is the creator of Bone, and I remember walking up to him. Mr. Smith, I'm a big fan of yours. I want to show you something that you inspired me to do. I handed him a copy of Miss Mouse. Oh my gosh, hold on. I gotta go stir the pot really quick. That's what that alarm was for. So I handed Miss Mouse to Jeff Smith. I told him, Mr. Smith, you inspired me to draw this. I just wanted to share it with you. And his reaction, his enthusiasm for the book just made all that effort worthwhile. The guy was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What's your name? He's like, I got to introduce you to a couple of people. And he walked me around the con and introduced me to a couple other people in the Comic-Con world, the professional side of it, and said, I want you to meet Jake Parker. He's up and coming. You got to check this guy out. Well, it made it all worthwhile. Like looking back, I realized that making that comic is something I call now my first creative misogi. Okay. I'm going to get into what a misogi is. There's a Japanese Shinto practice called misogi, which literally translates to water cleansing. Now, misogi involves a ritual purification of the mind, the body, and the spirit through like physical and mental challenges. And in practice, people do these yearly pilgrimages to like frigid waterfalls or to lakes or to rivers, and they cleanse themselves in them. They get all like practically frozen, but the aim is to scrub yourself clean of the contamination caused by modern conveniences. So this is a way to like remind them of how hard life can be and to not get too comfortable. So in recent years, though, there's been a growing base of people who have adopted elements of the misogi practice to give them a single memorable experience each year, usually in nature, that not just challenges them, but pushes them farther than they'd ever been able to go before. And these year-defining experiences that they do, like, I don't know, climbing a mountain or running a marathon, at a high elevation or something like that, or biking across a state. Actually, there's another one that I was reading about. It's this wild example where a group of guys took turns carrying an 85-pound rock underwater along the coast of Santa Barbara. So they would, like, the rock would sink to the bottom. They'd swim down, pick it up, move it 5 feet, take turns doing that, just exhausting themselves. And that was like their creative or their misogi for the year. Okay, so the idea is simple. You look back on your life. If you're thinking about what is a misogi, what qualifies a misogi, look back on your life. And when someone asks, what did you do in 2024? What did you do in 2020? And you might not remember the small day-to-day moments, but you're going to remember the misogi. Oh, that's the year that I moved a rock along the coast of Santa Barbara, or that's the year that I climbed Mount Rainier, or that's the year that I, biked across the state, or something like that. Something you're not going to forget. This got me thinking, what if we applied the concept of misogi to creativity? And so what I'm suggesting as we move into this next year or these next 6 months, that you take on a creative misogi. Now, I've unknowingly practiced this for about 25 years now, and now I have a name for it. And the idea is to set a creative challenge for yourself each year, something that pushes you beyond your limits, that challenges you, that defines your year, so that when you look back on, 2018, you could say, oh yeah, that's the year that I created that particular piece of art. So some examples of a creative misogi might be something like you complete all 30 days of an art challenge. You do 12 episodes of a podcast about a subject you find interesting, right? You make a short film. You design a board game. You draw a graphic novel, or you draw a short comic like I did for my first creative misogi. Maybe you do like the 100 drawings challenge. You make 100 drawings of a single subject matter. Walter, settle down. We already played. I'm recording a podcast now. Just a second, buddy. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background there. You design your website like that. Get out of here. Maybe it's something like you design your website. Like that's the year that you actually put everything together and you make an actual website for yourself. Or, maybe something like a daunting hobby project, like you have a set of Warhammer 40K miniatures or something. And this is the year that you paint them all. Okay. So those are some of the examples that I'm thinking of, like a creative misogi, something big that you're avoiding and you really want to, you're avoiding maybe because it's going to challenge you. It's going to push you out of your comfort zone. And now it's time to do it. Now it's time to take it on. So what are the 3 rules of a creative misogi? The 3 rules are, number 1, make it creative. So the root word of creative is obviously create. It's not revise. It's not remix. It's not update, reboot, or rehash. Your creative misogi should put something into the world that hasn't been there before. So make it unique and special to you. It should be something that could only come from you. It should be the kind of thing that other people see and think, oh yeah, I could see your fingerprint on that. Okay, so number 1, make it creative. Number 2, make it uncomfortable. It has to push you to the edge and beyond of your current comfort zone. There should be a chance of failure. Like it should be something that, maybe you're not going to make it to the top of the mountain, right? Maybe you're not going to actually finish this thing, but you or finish it in a certain deadline or by a certain time, right? But by pushing yourself, you're going to get pushed out of that comfort zone. And through the process of doing it, you're going to discover new potential in yourself that was like previously unlocked. So rule number 3, make it contained. Your creative misogi should have a finished created thing at the end of it. Something that you can hand to something you can send a link to, something a person can experience, something that has a beginning, middle, and end. Okay, so it's not like a project that's always ongoing, but it's like something that you can sit down, start to finish, have finished, and hand to somebody, right? Or somebody can experience. Okay, so the purpose of this is simple. Too often we push off our creative dreams. We think we'll be more prepared next year. We'll be better as an artist or better as a creator next year. So you don't want to do that thing now because your poor skills are going to ruin it. But 1 year turns into 5, then 10. And before we know it, we're haunted by what we never attempted when we had the time and energy to do it. So when I think about that first Missile Mouse comic, it wasn't perfect, but it changed me. It taught me how to finish something hard, how to push through discomfort, and how to really grow as an artist, not just do art for like passively for fun, right? But to do it to really solve problems and to finish a thing. And because of that simple comic, I was introduced to a community of comic artists who would lead me to making my own graphic novels someday, and really show me how to level up my work every time that I create something. And since then, I've created comics for Random House, for Marvel, for Scholastic. Missile Mouse, the character I created in junior high, and I made this little like cheesy Kinko's copied ashcan thing, actually ended up becoming a 2-book series published by Scholastic, one of the biggest comics publishers, on the planet. And so that's the point of a creative misogi. It's to wash away apathy. It's to wash away this hesitation and this complacency, and to leave you more decisive, more ambitious, and capable of tackling the next big challenge. So as we sort of part ways on this idea, I want you to think about a few things. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you can type out your answers in the comments below or just write them out in a journal. But these are things I want you to think about. Number 1, what was the last project you completed that truly pushed you out of your comfort zone? Okay, when was that? Was that last year? Was it 10 years ago? Have you ever been pushed completely out of your comfort zone? Okay, number 2, second question here. Are there any dream projects you've been putting off because you don't feel ready? That might be what your creative misogi should be this next year. Number 3, last question. If you were to take on a creative misogi this year, what would it be? Okay, I want you to write those down. You can share them in the comments if you want, but actually answer those questions, because that's going to get you started on this path to creating something that you're really proud of. That's going to push you, out of that comfort zone and make something like level you up to an ability that you didn't know you could get at. Again, thank you everybody for listening to us this year. Thank you for all the support and the community that we're building around here. I really love it, and we'll see you next year. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. 3-Point Perspective is made possible by SVSLearn.com. We're becoming a great Illustrator starts. Come check it out. We just revamped the whole thing. We've got a beautiful community growing there. It's very much shifted from education-based. Education is still like our foundation, but we've shifted more towards community-based. So everybody's in there sharing their artwork, talking. We've got this weekly quest that we do every week where you post what you're going to work on that week. You check in the middle of the week, and then and then at the end of the week, you report on how well it went. It's a good accountability partner type of thing. Keep you going. All right. Podcast is produced by Daniel Tu. That's Daniel TU. Special thanks to our SVS team manager, Preston Smith, keeper of the curriculum, Austin Shirtliff, Shownotes wrangler, Lily Howell, chief operations officer, Lisa Fott, our illustrator, Annalise Black. Now, go draw something.